end to the other and give you the rundown of how I'm doing that. So I explained how the staggerings are. So this is a 36-inch piece that I cut. These are kind of the main tools of the trade for laminate flooring. So having one of these pieces here, and then also these help you grab a hold of the end. So like if you need to move the whole section down, and then these little rubber pieces, they go on the edges here so that you can clip it in. So I'll kind of show you how that goes. So what I like to do is I actually just use this piece as a spacer. So I put that piece on the very end, and then basically I'll just run that all the way over to my wall. Run that all the way over to my wall right there. And you have to kind of put these pieces in at an angle. You can't just slide them in together, so you can pick them up and they fall into their track right there. Then after that, I will take this. You have to be careful because these little lips that are right here are the locking pieces. They break really easy. So you have to, when you're using this, make sure that you're setting it on top of that lip there. You can almost hit about as hard as you want to once you've got it set on that lip right there. So when you're putting the main lines in, they pretty much go the same, and I got to open up a new box, but usually you can just lay them out and then you can go along here pretty quickly. But same type of thing, you leave, you can kind of push this in here and it'll have a natural stop there, but then you leave it up at the angle. You always hook the long end in first, and once that clips in, it just falls into place. And then the next piece after that is you just have to tap on the end. If you just tap on the end of it to secure that piece in. And once you got a nice flush finish right there. Alright, so we're down here to the ending one. So I was gonna do a quick run through on how I do the end of. I've had pretty good luck here so far on how these have been lining up with the brick. I'm just gonna put some tan caulking in there to fill up that last little piece, that crack that's there. But so far it's been forming up pretty nicely, at least for better than I was expecting. So this last piece, it's not clipped in, obviously. I just set it in there to get it kind of close. So what I do then is I have one of these. I think you've seen these, I'm sure, on Amazon or Temu or different things like that. I think they were, you know, the internet was drowning in them there for a while. People using them for all kinds of impractical purposes. That's plenty loud, honey. So basically, I just use this. The trick that I had to figure out is I basically line this edge up with the edge of this piece of laminate, because that's my marker. So then I just push this in, and then just kind of making sure, going along the edge, going back and forth and making sure that all these little pins are pushed in is kind of the secret sauce, because I've figured out that you can get this pushed in here and think you got it formed, and you really don't, and then it doesn't fit worth a hoot. Because I got a couple of them back there that didn't cut the greatest. So once you got it formed, then you just lock it. So there's the cut that we're gonna make. Oh, there we go. That's the cut that's gonna make. So let's go trace it. Also, I wanted to show you that the reason why we set this plank in here is because this is what we pull a measurement off of. So again, the same way that we started, whoops, the edge of this tracer over here, I'm going to put this over here so it looks like 32 and 3/4 is what we need. So I kind of figure a little bit more, just because since this board isn't locked in, that's going to shift it back about 1/8 of an inch. So I figure that in on the measurement, because what I want to do is these boards I want tight over to the fireplace. So I like to set these up so that they're oriented the same way as how I'm going to insert them. And then also you want to make sure there's a little extra 1/8 of an inch lip right here. It's pretty easy to get yourself off pretty quick that way, as you've kind of noticed. So 32 3/4, I'm just going to put a little mark right there on the edge of that. Then we go back over here. I always like to just double check the mold and make sure that I've got it oriented correctly. And then I just line this plastic piece up with where that mark is at, and right on the edge there. And then I hold it and just trace it out. Now another trick that I've learned over the years is that if you put like a little X on the side that you're going to be cutting off, so like this is the piece of flooring that we need to put in there, that helps, because when I go to flip it around like this, and I'm going to cut it from this side, that reminds me, okay, this is the waste part, this is the good part. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this with the jigsaw, and then I'll be back. Another quick little trick too that I was going to share is on these jigsaws, you can shuffle the angle of the table of them, and then you can cut them at an angle, so it basically will angle the back of it in, and so then it looks a little bit better. Depending upon how this stone sits, I did some of them that way, but here recently I've been doing a lot of them where I've just been doing a straight up cut because of the stone and the concrete. Alright, so there we are. So what I did for cutting is I stacked up 4 of these boxes, which this is kind of a self-depreciating cut table, but it conveniently lines up with my Milwaukee vacuum, so then that way the pieces aren't falling and it cuts off the edge. I've been just doing all of my cuts straight, you know, jagged, whatever, with my jigsaw, my Milwaukee jigsaw. And between that and the vacuum, I'm running the vacuum basically on the front end of it as I'm cutting. It's really kept everything pretty clean, so I haven't had any big messes or have a bunch of sawdust around. So it's really helped save a lot of time from not having. I know previous job, I went outside to the garage all the time to use the miter saw and use the jigsaw out there. Didn't do any kind of dust collection, and it just took a lot more time. Alright, so here's the moment of truth. See how we did fitting these in. You always want to keep your underlayment nice and clean. So that's the other reason the vacuum's in here, so then that way I can go through here occasionally and vacuum everything up as we're going along. So, we'll just do the same kind of process. We're just going to tap this guy in. Like a glove. Gotta love it. Yep, that'll work. So the little gap that's right there is, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's largely due to the concrete actually sticks out here. So again, that's just going to get filled up with a caulking that we're going to get to match as close to this flooring as we can. So the last question that gets brought into play is just really the question of how do you fit in this last board here, because we want this other one to be as tight into the fireplace as we can. So this board here, we basically get it to where it lines up, and actually we got plenty of space to put this one in. You can get them lined up and basically squeeze them in. Since this one fits right into place, we'll get this one hammered in, and I'll show you how to get it all compacted this way together. Go. Alright, so you've got this main seam is set in really good, but the problem is that you've got a crack right there and a crack right there. So I'll show you how to take care of that. As you come back on down here to this end, and remember, we've still got this piece in here as a spacer, so this is where this tool comes in really handy. So I will show you, basically we're going to move the entire line of floor down about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. All right, Eddie. Hey, cover your ears. It's going to be loud. That should do it. So let's go check it. Good seams. And we're up tight against the fireplace. So that's how we're installing this. So we've got quite a bit of our flooring already done. We've got just a little bit left to go. We'll get updated as we continue to move along.